So, have you ever sat at work, looking at the clock, feeling like you were somewhere your body was present, but your spirit wasn't? Have you ever felt God pulling on your heart, calling you towards something bigger, something deeper, something eternal? But at the same time, you're like, Lord, I have bills, I have responsibility, I have family depending on me. And the question keeps coming up, Lord, are you really calling me to leave my job and step into ministry full time? We're going to get into that today. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. And if you are new here, welcome to the family. My name is Pastor Tarrance King Jr. And listen, I want to talk to the person who feels caught between security and calling, because I believe that this is one of the biggest decisions you as a believer can make. And if we're not careful, we can mistake emotions for the voice of God or fear for wisdom. So, what I want to do today, I want to walk through 7 steps. The first thing you need to understand is this: God's call will usually become a burden before it becomes an assignment. You see, Moses, he felt the burden. Jeremiah felt the burden. Nehemiah, he felt the burden. And Paul also felt the burden. Before they ever stepped into ministry, God placed something in their hearts they could not ignore. Nehemiah looked at the broken wall of Jerusalem and he couldn't stop thinking about it. Everybody else, they moved on, but he couldn't. The burden, it followed him. The burden kept him awake. The burden stayed in his prayers. And sometimes that's how ministry begins. Not with a microphone, not with a title, but with a burden. You can't stop praying for people. You can't stop teaching. You can't stop serving. You can't stop sharing God's word, no matter how hard you try, even when nobody is even watching, even when nobody is even paying you, even when nobody's paying attention to you, even when nobody is even applauding. The burden remains. Second, God's calling usually grows while you're working. I want you to notice something. David was tending sheep. Moses was tending sheep. Peter, he was fishing. And Matthew was collecting taxes. They were working when God called them. Many people, they want to quit before God says quit. But God often develops ministry while you're still employed. The job, it may be the very thing funding your preparation season. The job may be the very thing teaching you leadership. The job may be the very thing building your character. So don't despise the place God currently has you in right now. Sometimes God uses your workplace as a classroom. And here's the question: if nobody ever paid you to minister, would you still do it? That's truly important, because ministry isn't proven by income. It's proven by obedience. And some people, they want to leave their jobs because they're frustrated. Others want to leave because they're tired. Others, they want to leave because they feel like ministry is easier. But trust me, ministry is not easier. The attacks are different. The pressure, different. The responsibility, you got it, different. If your motivation is escape, that is not God's calling. But if your motivation is obedience, now we're talking. Let's go to number 3. God call becomes confirmed through fruit. You see, Jesus said, you will know them by their fruit. Matthew 7:16, notice he didn't say gift, he said fruit. Are people growing? Are lives being changed? Are people coming closer to God when you minister? Does God move? Not because you're perfect, but because God's hand is on your life. And many times the confirmation comes through impact. You keep seeing God use you again and again and again. Doors, they just keep opening. People keep being blessed. Lives keep being transformed. The fruit, it starts speaking. Now, let me tell you something important. A calling and a commission are not always the same thing. David was called king before he became king. Joseph was shown his future long before he even walked into it. Abraham received a promise long before he saw fulfillment. Just because God showed you your destination doesn't mean it's time to leave today. Sometimes God reveals the future while you're still in preparation. And preparation is not punishment. Preparation is protection. God is calling something in you before he builds something through you. Let's go to number 4. Number 4, wise counsel confirms what God is saying. God uses spiritual leaders to confirm his direction. Proverbs 11:14 says, "In the multitude of counselors, there is safety." If every mature believer around you is wanting you to slow down, pay attention. If every mature mentor in your life is saying you're not ready, pay attention. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody will understand your calling, but mature godly voices should recognize God's hand on your life. The people who know you, who know your walk, the people who know your character, the people who know your consistency, those voices matter. Number 5 is God usually provides before he sends. Think about Elijah. Think about Paul. Think about Jesus sending out the disciples. God is not irresponsible. If God is calling you into full-time ministry, he knows your bills. He knows your mortgage. He knows your children. He knows your responsibility. That doesn't mean that you'll become wealthy, but it does mean that God is able to sustain what he calls. Many believers jump before God says jump, and then they get mad for the consequences that they experience because they jumped prematurely. Faith is not reckless. Faith is obedience. And there is a difference. And let me say something that might surprise you. Sometimes God doesn't call you to quit. I know y'all didn't want to hear that. Sometimes he calls you to stay. Some of the greatest ministries happen through people who maintain careers, through teachers, through nurses, through business owners, through truck drivers, officers, office workers. God uses people everywhere. Not every calling requires a resignation letter. Some callings require influence right where you are. So don't assume ministry only happens behind a pulpit or by you quitting your job. Ministry happens wherever God places you. Now, let's talk about the story of Peter. In Luke chapter 5, Jesus tells Peter to launch out into the deep. Peter, he obeys. The catch is so great that the boat began to sink. Watch this. Then Jesus says something incredible. From now on, you will catch men. Peter leaves the boats. He leaves the nets. He leaves the fishing business. Why? Because Jesus made the call unmistakably clear. Peter wasn't leaving because he was frustrated. He wasn't leaving the business because it was slow. He wasn't leaving because he needed a change. He was leaving because Jesus called him. There is a difference. And when God truly calls, there is peace that comes with it. Not the absence of fear, but peace in the middle of fear. Because whenever God calls you to do something, the devil will try to put the spirit of fear on you. But God will give you peace to counteract that fear. Here's another sign. Your heart becomes more passionate about souls than security. At some point, eternal starts outweighing the temporary. People matter more. Purpose matters more. Obedience matters more. You begin seeing people the way God sees them. You begin feeling what God feels. You begin carrying his heart. This is often a sign that God is expanding your ministry assignment. But before you make a major decision, ask yourself these questions. Am I running toward ministry, or am I running away from a current situation? Am I being led by faith or driven by frustration? Has God confirmed this through his word? Has God confirmed this through wise counsel? Has God confirmed this through peace? And most importantly, am I willing to obey God even if the answer is not yet? Because sometimes not yet is still obedience. I want to encourage you today. If God is truly calling you into full-time ministry, you don't have to force it. You don't have to manipulate it. You don't have to chase. What God ordains, God sustains. If he opened the door, nobody can close it. If he called you, he will equip you. If he assigned you, he will provide for you. Your responsibility is not to manipulate the calling. Your responsibility is to remain faithful, serve where you are, grow where you are, be obedient where you are, and when God's timing arrives, the next step will become clearer. Because God is not the author of confusion. He knows exactly where he's taking you. If this blessed you, send this to at least 5 people. Speak to me in the comment section. I want to see what God is doing in your life. And remember, keep showing up, because I believe that when you show up, when you make that decision to show up, God will too. God bless you. I'll see you on the next one.